What's going on, guys? It's Cal here from Buffalo Sports Center. Alongside me is Don in the flesh, in person. Today we're talking about the Sabres, which is always a fun topic. We are going to be grading each and every one of the Buffalo Sabres so far this season. Now, it will come to no surprise to any of you guys that a lot of these guys are going to be getting low grades because the Sabres are once again near the bottom of the standings. There is still time to right the ship, but it's right. It's running out. Let's get right into it. We're starting with the centers. First things first, Dylan Cousins.
D minus.
D. Yeah, I think we got to give him a D. Right. I'll go up to a D. Dylan Cousins has been, as D says, disappointment because he has consistently been bad. Again, not a whole lot of goals this year, not a whole lot of points. He is still willing to put his body on the line, which I respect, but there has to be some point production from that, and I think we're all disappointed in him. Moving on, Tyson Kozak. I mean,
incomplete.
Yeah, we can't really grade him for the couple of games he was up. I'd give him a B, though. Definitely surprised me.
He looked very good. I think he's a much better fourth line center than Peyton Krebs or Sam Lafferty ever could possibly imagine. Sam Lafferty, man.
Yeah, we'll get on to him in a little bit. Next up, we have Peyton Krebs. I would go C on Peyton Krebs. Again, you can't expect much from him.
I guess I'm just going to be going lower than you on all of these.
Okay.
I'm going C minus.
Okay.
I don't think Peyton Krebs has done enough.
Yeah.
He's had a few good impact moments here, depth scoring, but it just hasn't been enough from him.
I like his physicality, but again, he's a smaller guy, so it doesn't play into effect too much. Next, Yuri Kulik. Again, are we thinking the same thing on him? I mean, he has had some goals, but he's also had some stinker games.
I'm going to give him a B.
B, yeah.
I see enough in his game. I think he's a much better transitionary center than Dylan Cousins. He doesn't lose it going over the blue line 90% of the time. And he actually, I remember when people were saying that Yuri Kulik is the next Victor Olofsson.
No.
Yeah. Terrible player comp. He is much more well-rounded, even in this only being this rookie season.
Yeah, and he's only 20 years old, right? And his shot is incredible. Did you see the one against, they just played the Islanders. They finally got a win. And that shot, again, that could be lethal for years to come. Moving on to Don's favorite player, Sam Lafferty. I think we both can say F.
F.
Right?
Dealt with
some injuries. Has yet to really get on the point sheet. What's he got? One goal at the time of this recording. Again, has been an absolute failure, so that fourth line looks bad.
And he's also signed for another year. Thank God, Kevin. Thank God for Sam Lafferty. He is the role player this team needed. We were a Sam Lafferty away from making the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen.
We sure were. Next up, we have another new guy, Ryan McLeod. Again, we traded away a prospect for him, Matt Savoy, one of our top prospects. I think Ryan McLeod, a C would be fair. He's good on faceoffs, hasn't really shown that speed too much. Hit the post in overtime during that losing streak. That could have really turned things around quicker than it did.
I'd say C+.
Okay.
I think Ryan McLeod, especially early on in the season, there were some good things, but what Lindy Ruff said, he hasn't liked McLeod's game for exactly the reason you just stated, that he hasn't been utilizing his speed enough. He's been kind of just playing hot potato, and we've seen over the last 2.5 weeks or so, Ryan McLeod has been playing fourth line center role. He's been bumped down, defensive line shifts only. It's unfortunate, but I think McLeod's got the skill there. I think when things were rolling, when this team was okay, that he was a very good third-line center.
Yeah. Next up, we have the last center on this team and everyone's favorite player, Tage Thompson. Now, let's just say, is he in the A's this year? Again, he was injured a little bit, but when he's been playing, he's still got that lethal shot. He still can do it all. The only issue is teams know that he's pretty much our only good player as a forward, so they just crowd him, right? So the power play, he's double teamed. When he's on the ice, he's double teamed. He can no longer do those crazy between the legs jukes because, let's be honest, teams just double cover him and leave other guys wide open who don't hit the net. So I would be willing to give Tage Thompson an A-. Again, whole lot of goals, and yeah.
Well, so here's the deal. Tage, he's kind of conflicting for me personally. Before his injury, fantastic, great. And this could be a topic for another time.
Yeah.
But does Tage Thompson have an injury problem, folks? This year, he's got that injury, and he hasn't looked the same since. Last year, injuries throughout the season, and he obviously didn't do as good. He only scored 50-something points. So this is 2 straight seasons now, and I'm starting to get a little concerned. This is supposed to be his prime. This is the best Tage Thompson we're going to see.
Yeah.
And if he's doing this now, what are we to say about him in 4 years when he's going to be over the wrong side of 30. It's going to be a little tougher for him. Like, I'm a little concerned, and I don't think he's done enough since coming back from his injury, suffered in the middle of that losing streak. So I'm going to have to give him a B.
Okay.
B.
Fair enough. Now we move over to the left wings. Now, this is a little bit of a weaker spot for the Sabres, I'd say. Let's start off with Zach Benson. Again, 19 years old. He's a very physical player, which I think is very needed for this team. A team that's pretty much soft, I think we could say. Zach Benson, again, all 5'10" of him, is constantly in front of the net. I would give him a solid B. I think, he hasn't scored as many goals as I would like, not on the point sheet as much as I would like, but again, if they could just get that power play going, I think that's where he could thrive, just kind of as that pest on the power play. So I'd give him a B.
I love his game. I think Zach Benson is a future rock star. I think he already is. I mean, he's only, 5'10", and he's doing all these crazy things in front of the net. I love Zach Benson. He's one of my favorite players on the team right now. I'd give him an A-.
Okay. You can't argue or complain about his game, right? He's giving that effort. I just think, again, he gets called for a lot of penalties, which a lot of them are BS, right? The refs hate him, right? Because, again, he gets called for a lot of penalties, and then people just smash him to the ground after the play. They don't get called. It is what it is. Moving on to Jordan Greenway, another guy.
You missed Ty Shoveldayoff.
Why Ty Shoveldayoff is on this list, I don't know. I don't know if he's even with the Amherst or with the Jacksonville Icemen. I don't know why he's on this list. We're skipping to Jordan Greenway. So Jordan Greenway, again, injury prone. He's going to be out for the year. I think we could just do a blank rating on this, right? There's not really much to rate. He's only played a few games this year.
I would disagree. I think he's played 15-ish games for the Sabres. I think you can go incomplete. In my book, I'm gonna have to give him a C.
Okay.
I think a C. When he's been on the ice, Lindy Ruff really leans on him. He trusts him on the penalty kill. He's very good, active stick. He was forechecking, hitting a lot of guys really hard. I like that about Jordan Greenway. Yeah. The problem is, again, he's gonna be out for the season, most likely.
Yeah.
He's in a contract year too. I don't really see the Sabres bringing him back either.
Yeah, especially with the injuries. Again, when he brings that physicality, he's a good player, but it's inconsistent, right? Some games he does absolutely nothing. Moving on to, again, a lot of people's favorite player on the team, Beck Malenstein.
A+.
Yeah, definitely A+ here. No, I think we could go D on Beck Malenstein. He's physical, right? That's what I like, but he's not scoring. He's not getting assists. He's statistically, if you go to advanced analytics, a worse Zemgus Girgensons from last year. So I can't really go higher than a D on Beck.
I would go a C+.
Okay.
I think he's a good impact. Every time I watch the games, one of the players I automatically notice is Beck Malenstein. He's always a presence on the ice. Yes, the analytics may be not that good, but the eye test for me, he's hitting a lot of people a lot. He's trying to change the mood in these games, and I like that about him. Yeah. Especially when you have trash bags like Sam Lafferty clogging up the ice doing literally nothing. Sam Lafferty, you suck.
My favorite player on the fourth line for sure, Beck Malenstein, but still that new fourth line is just a big disappointment. Finishing off our left wings with Jason Zucker. Speaking of favorite player, this guy is all of a sudden, he's smart. He's that veteran presence that we desperately needed. Again, you would have liked a few more Jason Zuckers on this team to make it complete. I'd give Jason Zucker an A. I think he has really brought, everything and more that we would have thought from him.
When we first signed him in the summer for 1 year, $5 million, I was like, really? Jason Zucker hasn't done anything in 3 years. But he has been the perfect veteran addition to that third line. He fits his role so perfectly. He's one of the few forwards that have remained consistent throughout this entire season, a season in which the Sabres have been... So, Jason Zucker, he's bringing that good veteran presence. He's bringing in a lot of goals. He's been good on the power play as well. And, yeah, I agree, A.
Yep. Moving on to our right wings, starting off with Nicholas Abe-Kubel, a.k.a. Abdul. Again, I got to give this guy an F. He has been terrible. He's been injured a little bit. He's been sat. There's not much to say about him. Just a complete disappointment.
F.
Moving on to J.J. Peterka. Again, his ceiling is way up here. His floor is way down here, and he's been closer to the floor, I think, this year. A very streaky player his entire career, right? All of a sudden he'll go on like a 7-game goal streak, and then it's back to 15 games of nothingness. Right. I'm one of the biggest JJP fans you'll know. We got 2 jerseys over here. I'm still going to have to give him a C+ this year.
I go C-. Okay. I think that J.J. Peterka he had a really good first month of the season, but then he disappeared. I haven't noticed him up until recently. He scored a goal against the Boston Bruins, and
Heating up, 2-game goal streak.
right, he's got a 2-game goal
At
streak
the time of this recording.
Right, but JJ Peterka, he's been too streaky. How many times on the power play have we seen him fan on a shot?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
All the time.
unbelievable.
All the time.
His confidence is shot. He's a streaky player, as he said, and C-. He hasn't done enough. They need him putting up at least 25 goals this year,
Yeah.
and he's not going to crack that.
Again, if
This
you're not
third
going to do
base.
anything in free agency and bank on these young guys, they got to do something. And right now they haven't. Speaking of young guys, Jack Quinn, I'm going to straight up give him a D. He's been injured a little bit. He's been sat. Lindy Ruff doesn't like him. Again, he's a toe drag merchant. And I think, again, the ceiling's way up here, floor's down here, and he's right near the floor right now. Tons of potential. I'm not ready to give up on him. But if they were to trade a guy, Jack Quinn could be one of those pieces that you move for, a more experienced veteran player that could get you to that next step, although that next step doesn't seem to be coming this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an F here for Jack Quinn. I think he was totally abysmal. Prior to that one Toronto Maple Leafs game, he's finally scored 2 goals on an NHL goalie. I mean, thank God. I know he's been suffering from injuries, and it's really frustrating because before the injuries, he was good.
Yeah.
He was great. He looked like a top 6 winger in this NHL for many years to come. But for some reason, things have not clicked under Lindy Ruff. Again, like a few other players on this roster, Peterka, he looks short on confidence. He's a toe drag merchant. His skating has just fallen off a cliff. And, I mean, I understand he's had 2 horrible knee injuries, but either you can skate or you don't. Skating's the most important ability or quality for an NHL player, and he has to be able to do that. If you can't skate, you might as well be in the AHL. And I don't know if he can get that back given the absolutely horrible knee injuries.
When he came back from his first injury, he was good right away, right? Had a couple of goals, got the Sabres going again, and then he got injured again. And that second injury, he hasn't really bounced back from yet. Again, hopefully that does happen. And again, I'm not ready to give up on any of these guys at this point in the season. Why even make a move, right? It's a waste of time. You're just, giving away young talent for
Now you sound like
rentals.
Kevin Adams.
Yeah. Can't make the playoffs in December. Yeah. But, it's pathetic. But moving on to our last winger here, Alex Tuch. Now, Alex Tuch is a guy who I want to like so bad, right? Hometown guy. I mean, Syracuse, but you know what I mean, right? Rooted for the Sabres. Is that want to be here guy. But this year, it just hasn't really been there, right? The effort, we could check. He's not really, not really skating around, hitting as hard as years prior. It seems like he's a little bit defeated, which you can't blame him, but also it's a little annoying. I'm going to have to give Tuch a B-. I'll give him.
I was going to give him a B.
Yeah.
I think he's been fantastic shorthanded. He's got 3 shorthanded goals already this season. His speed has been a killer. His breakaway shooting abilities have also been a killer, and not in a good way.
No.
I think he's still a fine top 6 winger. Notice how I say top 6 winger, not top line winger.
Yeah.
There's a difference. He's a B. He's been solid. He's pretty much what I expected from Alex Tuch. You bring up the effort issue, and I would ask you, hey, he's a human being too. If I were on the Sabres team and we had lost 10 in a row or whatever, I'd also be like, Christ, I just want to win 1. And I'd be sagging my shoulders a little bit, so I don't blame him for that.
And everyone's doing it. I just bring that up because Tuch was one of the guys who last year was not doing that at all, right? He was the consistent effort guy, the consistent pusher of this team. This year it hasn't been like that. But let's switch over to defense now. Me and you might disagree on this a little bit because I know you are very critical of our defenders. If you guys want to check out the pylon video he just made, you can check that one out. There's some of these guys I like a little bit more. Starting with Jacob Bryson. Now, Jacob Bryson, I think he's meeting or going over expectations. Again, a guy who was a consistent scratch, for a couple seasons ago, all of a sudden is an everyday starter, and he's not the worst defenseman on this team. I would give him a solid B- this year.
D.
Yeah.
He doesn't
That's where we're
skate.
gonna,
Yeah, you can see I'm very, very down on our D core. I think they are trash. I think they suck. They don't skate, they don't block, they don't take away passing lanes. They are not physical either. And when you're a depth defenseman like Jacob Bryson, that's a quality you need. And I'm sorry, Jacob, you're a D. Bye.
Next up, Bowen Byram. Again, I think he stepped up big time for, Dahlin got hurt for that extended period. Byram became our top guy, and he's lived up to the hype. Unfortunately, we've had to trade Casey Middlestat for him, and I know a lot of fans are kind of sour on Byram because of that, because not because of Middlestad's talent, but because he's been here so long, right? People didn't want to see him go. I would give Byram a B. I think he's, Bowen Byram B. I think, that just makes sense. And he's been solid. Again, not as much production offensively that I would have liked. Again, he's supposed to be that kind of offensive guy scoring a ton of goals. He's a streaky guy as well when it comes to the goals. Multiple multi-goal games in his tenure with Buffalo, which is only a year maybe a year combined now. But I'd give him a B.
I would have to say B+. Much for the same reasons as you have, but I really think, even though we lost a bunch of games during the losing streak when Dahlin was injured, it was just Byram and Power basically on our D-core, no one else. I think Byram has really stepped up, like you said. Offensively, he's going to probably break 40 points this year, which for a top 4 D-man like him, that's good.
Yeah.
But my only concern with Bowen Byram is he going to want to stay in Buffalo beyond the season? He's going to be an RFA or a UFA?
I don't know for sure. I think I don't know for sure. I know there were some rumors that he might want to leave because apparently he wants to be a number 1 defenseman on his team.
Not a number 1.
I don't know where you're going to find that. If you're not number 1 on the Sabres, I get Dahlin, is there obviously, so he's never going to be. But I don't know what he's going to do there. But moving on to Connor Clifton. Connor Clifton, a few games a year, he can touch A, but I would give him a D. He's just been bad. He pinches in, but then he doesn't get back. He's just a mess out there. Again, his physicality is a good thing. Like I said, a couple games a year, I'll be like, wow, when his effort's right, he can be a good player. But he just hasn't been for the Sabres, so I got to give him a D.
A is way too high. He is an F. F. Connor Clifton is one of the worst players I have ever seen in a Sabres jersey. And I've seen Justin Falk, and Christ.
Riley Stillman, Cal Clegg, there's been some interesting fellas here, but yeah, again, Clifton pretty bad. Then we move on to Dahlin. This one's interesting because he's been injured. He's the captain now. Maybe a little pressure on him. I'll let you go first on this one because I'm intrigued.
A lot of Sabres fans like to criticize Dahlin when he's on the ice, but let me ask you something. What happens to this team when he's not on the ice? Mm-hmm. They lose 13 games in a row. Dahlin's an A in my book. He's been. After I would say the first 5 or 6 games, a very slow start for him. But after that, he got things going. Unfortunately, he got injured. Sabres started losing. But right when he comes back, Sabres put up 7 goals on the New York Islanders. I mean, when was the last time we saw the Sabres go to Long Island and put up 7 on that team? It's always a nasty match.
I got to agree with A. I mean, Rasmus Dahlin, again, he's like a cleanup hitter in baseball that has no help. Again, he's like the Tage Thompson of the D-core.
Yeah.
They just crowd him. They know he's the only defender there that, goes for the offense. And again, Dahlin could be so much better on this team if the Sabres would go out and get a defensive partner for a guy like Owen Power, who we'll talk about in a little bit. And then, you can kind of even it up a little bit. But right now, Dahlin's kind of the only guy out there that has a chance to do some good. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. Got to give the captain an A. Moving on to Dennis Gilbert. Now, Dennis Gilbert, hometown boy.
I don't give a shit. F.
Hometown boy. You can say F all you want. Dennis Gilbert, he's lived up to expectations. He's exceeded them. He gets in fights. I'm giving him a C. Good enough. I mean, again, I'm a big Gilbert fan. If you're going to get in fights, I'll take it all day.
That's purely based off vibes. He's an F. Come on, folks. Stand with me. He's an F.
Dennis Gilbert. F. Okay, speaking of F, Henry Jokiharju. Now, Henry Jokiharju has had some good seasons with the Sabres, or mediocre. This year, he has turned into the worst defenseman and worst player on the ice consistently. So, again, F. Yeah, not much to say there. Owen Power, this one's controversial because Owen Power's ceiling is through the moon. I see great things in Owen Power's future. He's 22 years old, but right now he's paired up with Henry Jokiharju, and quite honestly, he's been playing like a bum for some of these games, right? He's still very slow. He looks like a baby deer in his own end and on the power play. His decision-making is very slow. So, again, I'm a fan of Owen Power, but right now he's not playing at that, that high potential. I'd have to give him a C- this year. Again, he's had some Mickey Mouse goals with the empty net and late in games, but they haven't mattered.
I would give him a... Oh, I'm torn. I want to give him a B-. I really do. The defense hasn't been exactly there. The physicality in front of the net, not really there either. And it's really funny, folks, because while the Rats are running around here, making a lot of noise, he doesn't have a partner. You look at his analytics with Henry Jokiharju. Yeah. They are significantly worse than with any other competent defenseman, NHL-level defenseman.
Kevin, please get us someone.
Kevin has been saying, it's on the bucket list. We will get Owen Power a D partner. It's been 3 years, asshole. Get him one at this point. Come on. I'm sorry for the language, but I think Owen Power is fantastic. I think he's going to be one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Him, Dahlin, Byram. I can only dream of such a D-core.
Yeah.
But no, you have to stick him with Henry freaking Jokiharju, one of the worst defensemen. He makes Connor Clifton look good. Although there is one other guy.
Yeah, and we're getting to him right now.
Right
now. As Nick is showing us a picture of him right now, it is Matthias Samuelsson. I think we take all these things into effect. Contract, horrible.
Terrible.
Injured,
Terrible.
He's injured always. His play on the ice, his defense, his offensive abilities, nothing.
Oh, he blocks shots every now and then. He has like a good game here or there. He had 15 games a few seasons ago where he looked good, and Kevin Adams, and in all of his wisdom, signed him to a 5-year deal. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
Right? I mean,
F.
Yeah.
F minus. Can we go lower than an F for that guy?
I wish. Okay, now we get into goalies. Let's start off with our starter, UPL. Again, UPL's numbers, they're a bit, they're a bit in the dumps right now because he did have a couple bad games that have significantly hindered that, and he also has one of the worst decors in the NHL. So I would give him a solid B this year. Again, I think, he still has that ability to win you a game, but until the Sabres get a good decor, he's not going to, he's not going to flourish, and he's not going to be the reason why the Sabres make the playoffs. I don't think he's one of the best in the league.
Based off their heights and, physical attributes and stuff, I think his career arc so far very much looks like Linus Omar. Right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, and of course, Linus, we wouldn't see his full potential until after he left Buffalo. Unlike Linus, though, Kevin Adams signed UPL to a long-term deal, so we will get a lot of time to see whether or not UPL can be a stable, long-term franchise goalie. He's been okay. Yeah. He has made some of the best saves this season. He's also made some of the worst. He's led in some of the worst goals I've ever seen. Yeah. How many times this year have we seen a defenseman shoot a big little rainbow shot, and there's UPL crouching in front of the net, and it goes right over him through the middle of the net?
That's been his biggest issue, right? Tracking the puck from the time we drafted him on. I mean, it's always been tracking through the World Juniors, through even before that in Finland, and now in the NHL. Tracking the puck. So, again, that's one of the big things for him. Let's move on to James Reimer. James Reimer, I would go B as well. Had that terrible game against Detroit. Other than that, he's been very solid. He's almost been better than UPL in some of these games. Again, very small sample size, but I think he's kept the Sabres in games when originally I didn't think he was going to be able to keep the Sabres in games, and he's 36.
Yeah. I think he's been okay, but he's a backup.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to like Reimer, but he's just a backup. I don't really have anything to say beyond that. I'll give him a C.
Okay. And the last but not least player of this entire video is Devin Levi. Now, again, very small sample size this year. He's been tearing it up with the Amherst. But in the NHL, I think I'd have to give him a C-. He just really hasn't looked comfortable. Again, he came up and tried to save the Sabres season when they missed the playoffs by 1 point, and they didn't do anything at the trade deadline or in free agency. Devin Levi, again, future's bright. A lot of people say he's the future, not UPL. UPL holds us over to get to Devin Levi. I don't know if I'd go that far, but again, they're two completely different goalies, and that's going to be a really good tandem if they both develop. And we're giving Devin Levi plenty of time to develop with the Amherst, and he's been doing a great job. So I would go C or C- on Devin Levi in the NHL, but in the AHL, he definitely gets an A.
I don't really think I can add anything beyond that. I agree with Cal.
Perfect. Okay, so that is going to do it for this video. Thank you for sticking around if you are still here. It was a long one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Anything you would disagree with, any players you think deserve higher, let me know. Nick, do you have any final words?
I got nothing.
Nick's got nothing. Have a good one, guys, and peace out.